Greetings, everyone, and happy Monday. Happy first day of classes. I am Dr. Leah McAlister-Shields, and this course is CUIN 3350, Knowing and Learning in Mathematics and Science. And so I wanted to go over the course syllabus with you all, just to make sure to review the more specific aspects of the course, and to provide some detail about course assignments. And then I'm going to talk about what's upcoming for the week. Okay. So knowing and learning. Okay. Why this course? Why this course as a part of the ACP program? Well, the course really focuses on how students come to learn information. It focuses on how do we come to know aspects of knowledge, in terms of how do we acquire knowledge, especially within the context of mathematics and science. Okay, and so this is going to be a course that's going to really challenge you about your assumptions on learning, and about how students learn, and about how we as individuals acquire knowledge. And so you're going to have to think with a very critical lens for this course. There are going to be some very challenging readings in this class, readings that you may have never encountered before, as this course is going to focus heavily on what it means to be a culturally responsive math and science teacher. And so what does that mean, being culturally responsive? Well, culturally responsive teaching is an instructional philosophy. It's a philosophy that informs how we as STEM educators, how we as educators believe that the role of culture plays in how students acquire knowledge. So, in terms of culture, in terms of being culturally responsive, the key outcome, or the key goal, is to help students make sense of their learning, to make sense of the material that you're teaching, from their own lived experiences, from their own cultural references. And so that's something that's going to be a part and parcel of this course. It's woven throughout the class. It's something that we're going to continue to come back to. You will see it in your readings, you'll see it in your assignments, and you will especially see it in your weekly discussions. Okay. So knowing and learning really seeks to help you develop kind of a toolkit as well. Okay, a toolkit that is very much theory driven, that is data driven, and it's a toolkit that's going to help you to acquire knowledge about approaches that you can utilize in the classroom to help you more effectively teach aspects of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or as we call it, STEM. And so we're definitely going to focus on social learning theories. We're going to look at, how the design of a learning environment can both positively impact student learning, but also can create an obstacle to student learning. And we're definitely going to look at the role of social justice in teaching STEM. And so that's not something that maybe you all have thought about, and that is, how does social justice work with teaching students math and science? What is the role of a social justice framework or lens? But we're going to delve into that over the course of the semester. As you have been made aware, this course is completely online, okay, which means that all the instruction will take place online. Occasionally, I will come into your classes on Tuesday and Thursday when you're taking Miss Mateer and Miss Ikoba for activities here and there. Okay, so we do have some really fun activities that are going to be happening probably in the next couple of weeks or so. That's really going to engage you in this coursework and in this topic. Okay, so what are some of the things that you'll be able to do? okay, at the conclusion of this course? Well, we want you to be able to construct models of knowing and learning to kind of guide your own classroom practice. Okay, it's really important that you not only come to understand, aspects of how students learn, but that you're able to construct your own models, and use those models in your own classroom to help students, to more effectively teach STEM, but also to help students learn math and science. We want you to articulate various standards for knowing STEM, and discuss the implication of these standards. Implications are a huge aspect of this course. What is the impact of selecting one type of instructional strategy on student outcomes? What is the impact in terms of focusing on a certain type of standards? What is the impact on students with regards to the types of assessments that you may elect to use? So it's very important that you're able to both look at the standards, okay, but then also look at the implication of standards for assessment, okay. Then articulate what it means to know and learn in terms of cognitive structures, and describe how and what people know and how that changes and how that develops. So learning is very fluid. It's very dynamic. It's not static at all. And so we want you to be able to articulate what that looks like and what that means for various students, especially students from diverse populations, which would include all of us. Also, describe various paradigms for evaluating STEM understanding and trace those relationships to learning theories. Okay, so paradigms have come and gone. Paradigms have come and they've been proven and they've been disproven, and they've been utilized extensively and as well as underutilized. And so it's important that you are able to describe some of the more widely used paradigms, some of the more widely understood paradigms, and how that has impacted our conception of what it means to be teachers, but also our conceptions, how has that impacted our conception of of how we believe students acquire knowledge. Okay. And then use the clinical interview method to make sense of a learner's reasoning about a topic in STEM. So you're going to conduct something called a clinical interview, which I'm going to get into. I'm going to get into depth a little bit more about that. But the clinical interview is something that you're going to utilize this approach to work with students to be able to understand how they're working through a problem. How are they understanding a certain scientific concept? So it's a way for you to interact with your students and acquire knowledge about how they're learning. Okay. Express informed opinions on current issues and tensions in education, especially as they relate to STEM instruction. Okay. So we want you to we want you to be able to understand the issues of the day in terms of STEM instruction, what it means to be an educator. But we want you to have informed opinions about that, which means being data driven and evidence based. That's what it means. And so we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk about something in particular called the culture of facilitating or fostering a culture of argumentation. So we're going to talk about that and what that looks like as a way of having opinions that are informed. Explore the affordances offered by various technologies in supporting knowing and learning in STEM, and trace a relationship to learning theory. So we're going to talk about some of the positive aspects in terms of utilizing technology, and how does that help students learn? How does that impact the learning of STEM? But also we're going to talk about some of the obstacles that technology, or rather the access to or the lack thereof, may also pose in terms of STEM learning. And then explore the implications of deficit models of learning on issues of equitable instruction and learning environment. So we're really going to focus heavily on making sure that we understand what does it mean to deficit frame, okay, or to look at things from a deficit perspective. versus looking at things from a talents perspective, from a resilience perspective. And so we're gonna talk about what that means and what does that mean in particular for your own instruction of STEM. Okay, so in terms of the readings for the class, there are none for you all to have to purchase. However, all the readings will be made available to you in Blackboard. Okay. Okay, so I've shared a little bit about my own philosophical and theoretical foundations in terms of what I feel informs my instruction of this course. I'm not going to delve into that because you can read that in the syllabus, as well as my conceptualization about what it means to learn. But in a nutshell, you know, my own kind of beliefs around what informs this class is that as instructor and as student, we are co-constructing knowledge together. I am here to facilitate learning. I do not believe that I am the beholder of knowledge. I believe that actually you are the beholder of knowledge, and that I am here to help you kind of navigate this learning experience. And so we'll talk a lot about the co-construction of knowledge and Vygotsky and and Piaget, and so we'll talk all about these wonderful theorists in terms of what it means to both learn and teach, and in terms of teaching more specifically, I really subscribe to Latson Billings' philosophy of being a culturally responsive instructor. So there are gonna be some things that you're gonna notice. I'm gonna go over that again when I get down to the assignments. There are gonna be some things that you notice I'm gonna utilize as a part of the class to ensure that you all have a voice in terms of your learning, that you have an opportunity to check in with me and let me know how things are going. And so that's really important to me, especially when I want to ensure that as students that you do play a role in your own learning. Okay. Okay, so in terms of grading, so there's a grading scale that is that's on page 3. Actually, I'm sorry, that's on page 4. There's a grading scale, and so you all can read through that. It's it's the typical grading scale that's used at the University of Houston. So, all right, assignments. All right, so assignments. So there are, when you look at this table, it's going to look like there's a lot of stuff there that you have to do, but in actuality, some of these pieces will not take you much time at all, and some others will take you more time. Okay. But everything that's here that's listed as an assignment for this course has been thoughtfully prepared and selected for this class. Everything that you're doing for this course was meaningfully selected. Okay, so this is not busy work. Everything here is purposeful, and at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that you all have a deep knowledge of how students acquire. Of how students learn and how students come to make sense of what they're learning. Okay, but also to delve into things like, what is your philosophy on teaching? What is your personal philosophy on what it means to be an educator? So the first of these assignments is going to be the getting to know you and 8 nouns. So that's actually 2 assignments. Each of them are 25 points each. So the getting to know you is a simple survey. It is a Google Doc survey. I've placed that in Blackboard already in the week 1 folder. You can access that link and go ahead and complete that. It's just a few simple questions. Some of it's contact information, and then there are a few other things there. And then the 8 nouns. Love the 8 nouns assignment. So basically, in Blackboard, if you go into the content folder, you'll see that there's a week 1 folder that's there. There's in that week 1 folder, there is all kinds of information about what's happening in week 1. Okay, and one of the pieces that are mentioned that's there is the assignment on 8 nouns. So when you click on that, there's going to be a description provided. Essentially, I want you to come up with 8 nouns that describe you. Okay, and I want you to record your discussion of those 8 nouns and why you selected those 8 nouns. What do they mean? Okay, and why is it that you selected them? Be creative. Okay, I've seen all kinds of things in terms of students and in terms of how they share those 8 nouns. But be creative. It doesn't have to be just you. You could allow family and friends to help you with those 8 nouns. You can. I've had people write poems. I've had people develop a song to describe their 8 nouns. You can get as creative as you would like. Okay. Once you videotape your 8 nouns, you have to upload that to the larger discussion board. So we do have a discussion board for the class itself, and we will only use that discussion board for this 8 noun assignment. Okay. Now, you're going to have a discussion board in your individual learning communities, which I'm going to get into in a moment. But for this 8 noun assignment, you're going to come up with 8 nouns that best describe you. You're going to do a video recording your description of those 8 nouns and why they best describe you. And then you're going to upload your video to the larger discussion board. Okay. And you're going to create a thread and you're going to upload your video. Okay, and you have to respond to 2 other students' videos. Okay, so you have to, preferably I want you to look at everyone's video. Okay, so look at everyone's video, but you would need to respond only to 2 of the videos. Okay, so I want to make sure that you all are aware of how to go by that assignment. If you have any questions or concerns about the assignment, send me an email. Okay, send me an email. All right, so then the next large assignment is going to be your learning, your virtual discussions via your learning communities. Okay, every week, just about. So there are about 15 weeks this semester. 10 of those weeks you're going to be meeting up with your learning communities virtually and discussing your readings or the videos that you had to watch for class that week. Okay, and so I have divvied you all up randomly into 2 learning communities. Okay, and you have been assigned to those learning communities. If you go into Blackboard, you'll see small groups, and if you click on that, I think you can find that you've been added to a learning community. When you go into that learning community portal, then you will see that it says learning community. It may say 1 or learning community 2, and then you'll see all of your members. You will also see a description of what you have to do for the learning community each week in terms of those virtual, in terms of the virtual discussions, as well as a calendar or as well as a list of discussion leaders for each week. Okay, so each week you will have to rotate who's going to be the discussion leader, okay, for that week's discussion. And the discussion leader will have to come up with a PowerPoint, okay? And in that PowerPoint, you're going to want to make sure that you include the following, okay? A bulleted list of key learning from the reading, okay, or the videos. Key lines that you would want to share with every teacher or practitioner that you know. Okay. Implications that you see for the use of this instructional knowledge or any type of material that you had to read or watch that week in your class, okay, in terms of your own instruction. So what are the implications that you feel that you see as a result of what you learned that week for your own instruction? Okay, so that's the third thing to include. The fourth thing is any kind of questions or confusions that may have been prompted by any part of the reading or the videos that you may have watched. Okay. And as the discussion leader, it is your job to help facilitate discussion for that week. Okay. And so the top 4 bullets here that are on pages 7 and 8 of the syllabus, that's what you have to put into a PowerPoint presentation. Okay. And then you'll have to videotape either using Zoom or Skype for business. Okay. You'll have to videotape your discussion. Okay. Now, you're not limited to Zoom. You're not limited to Skype for business. If you find out some other platform that allows you to meet with all groups virtually, okay, and record that discussion, then that's something that you can use, as long as you can post it into Blackboard in your learning community, and you create a thread for the week that you are the discussion leader. Okay, you would create a thread for that week, and the 2 things that you have to upload as a part of that thread is the video, okay, for that week, as well as the PowerPoint that you use to facilitate the discussion for that week. And the PowerPoint should include at least the 4 items mentioned in the syllabus on pages 7 and 8. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I make that clear, and that is that the discussion leader role rotates from person to person within that learning community. So everyone is at least presenting twice. A couple of folks may present 3 times. Okay. And so for those that are presenting the extra time, you're going to get extra credit for your third presentation, for your third discussion leader role. Okay. So that's something that I wanted to do, because I know that you're taking on an extra week of leading discussion, so I'm going to give that to you as extra credit. Okay. Okay. So those discussions are worth a total of 100 points. So they're 10 points each. Okay. And you must be present. You must participate in discussion. Okay. And so I want there to be active discussion. I watch these videos every week, and I provide feedback on the videos every week, written feedback. Okay. So I will be watching. I'm only saying this to make sure that you all understand the importance of your ability to participate in these discussions every week. It is the lion's share of your points for this class. Okay? Really important. All right, we're going to have monthly synchronous meetings that are going to happen during the month of September, October, November. Those meetings will be 90 minutes long. Okay. And so there will be 3 of those, as I mentioned, and there'll be 25 points each. Okay. And so I've mentioned the weeks that I plan to have those synchronous meetings. Okay. But in terms of the actual dates that those will occur, I'm going to send out a doodle link to you all, and then that way we'll figure out if we're going to do it on a Friday or a Saturday. I would prefer to do it on a Friday, being that you all will not have class and you will not have observations for the most part, or we will do this on a Saturday. Again, you will not have class, you will not have observations. And so, but we'll see. Again, I'm gonna send you all a doodle poll and figure out which day works best. Okay. All right. So the purpose of synchronous meetings is for me to check in with you. Okay, for me to check in with you all collectively. So it's for me to check in with you all collectively, see how things are going. We're probably going to discuss some of the readings. I tried to I placed the meetings during weeks that we're going to be talking about some really pivotal, aspects of the course. And so I want to make sure that I am checking in with you virtually about the course. Okay. All right. So then you're going to have, again, you're going to have to conduct a clinical interview to learn more about how students acquire knowledge, but this is going to be a tool that you can use to be able to really kind of delve into the thought processes of your students. Okay. And so this is a really important skill set to both have and develop. as it's something that you're going to use routinely as math and science instructors. Okay, and so so there's going to be more information about the clinical interviews is going to be placed in Blackboard, okay? But you'll have two. You're going to have one clinical interview that you're going to do on your own, okay? So one-on-one, and then you're going to have a separate, a second clinical interview that you're going to do as a part of a group, okay? And so the first clinical interview is just to kind of get your feet wet, to kind of get a feel for what it means to conduct a clinical interview. And so as a part of that, you'll have to, write up your questions. You'll have to conduct the interview. You'll have to record that interview. You have to upload that for your assignment. And then you'll also have to do a write-up of the interview. So then what went well, where'd you have challenges? What were some of the realizations that occurred? And then also the implications for your instruction. Okay, so that will happen both for the first interview and for the second interview. Okay, and each one of those are worth 50 points. All right, next is the midterm checking in survey, and so that is designed so that like the getting to know you survey, the mid-semester check-in survey is for me to be able to kind of check in with you. How are things going mid-semester? Are there any it provides you with the ability to share with me any concerns that you may have, so that way if I need to kind of steer the ship in a different direction, I can. But I just want to make sure that that I go over that with you all, and that's 25 points. Okay. All right. So teaching philosophy outline. So in October, I'm going to have you come up with an outline for your teaching philosophy. By that point, we would be midway through the semester, and so you would have conducted. You would have had watched some videos. You would have had some discussions. You would have read some of the course material by the end, and this portion before your outline is very heavily focused on some of the cognitive aspects of how students learn. Okay, so it's focused on more of the cognitive aspects on how students learn, where after the latter half of the semester is on some of the psychosocial aspects of how students learn. Okay, so then we're taking into account more person and environment. We're looking at issues of social justice. So that's how the course is somewhat divided into, cognitive behavior, kind of cognitive learning theories, and then here psychosocial learning theories here. Okay. So that's how the course is divided. And so your teaching philosophy will probably be heavily focused on some of the cognitive pieces, because that's what we would have covered up to that point. But I'm going to definitely expect that you all make sure that you include aspects of the psychosocial piece in your final teaching philosophy. Okay, so you would submit your outline in October. That's worth 25 points, and then I've already talked about your second interview that will happen after that, and then your final teaching philosophy will be due at the end of November. Okay, that's 75 points. So as you can see, your outline is 25, your final teaching philosophy is 75 points. So you see the importance there. And then lastly, you're going to have a reflective journal. So the reflective journal is going to begin the first week of class, this week. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to begin to collect your thoughts about what you're learning. You're going to write down aspects of what you found in terms of what you found interesting that week during in terms of the readings and things that you encountered in your own learning. It's a reflective piece. This is a reflective tool. Okay, and so this is again one of these other tools that you can use. You have your clinical interview. Okay, which you're using to learn more in terms of a one-on-one basis with your students about how they acquire knowledge, okay, and how they're thinking through, or how are they conceiving of the course material, okay, and more of a one-on-one interaction, okay. So that's the clinical interview piece. You have your teaching philosophy, which overarchingly informs how you see yourself as an educator, okay, and that directly relates to how you execute instruction in the classroom. So that's another tool in your toolkit. And then you're going to have your reflective journal, okay? And your reflective journal is really important because what we do not talk a lot about in education is being a reflective practitioner. Being an educator should be largely focused on reflecting on your instruction every day, every week, every month, every year, okay? It's very easy to get stuck in a rut and to do what you've always done. And let me tell you, you're not yet in the classroom, but when you get in the classroom, you'll see how easy it can be to get stuck in a rut. But one way to combat that is to be a reflective practitioner. Really reflect on your instruction. What went well? Where did you have challenges? What was impactful to students? So many pieces to consider. And so the journal helps you make sense of all of that. And you begin to see patterns, and you begin to see and you begin to have insights in keeping a journal. So you'll have to do that over the course of the semester. You have to have at least 10 entries of 1 page each. Okay, so that's a minimum number of entries for your journal, and that will be due the last week of November. Okay, so all of this comes to a total of 500 points for the class. Okay, and so again, this seems like this is a lot, but in all honesty, some of the more time-consuming pieces are going to be your teaching philosophy, your interview, and those meetings every week. Very imperative. And when you conduct the meetings, I want everyone's video on. Okay. Unless there is an extenuating circumstance for you not to have the video on. I want everyone to have their video on, and I want to be able to see that you were a part of this virtual meeting that's occurring every week. Okay, one way of making that easier for you all in your learning communities is each week you can come together and decide. So when you conduct your first virtual discussion, okay, at the conclusion of each discussion, you can talk about a date that works well for you for the next virtual discussion. Okay, I've seen students do it in a variety of ways. And one way I've seen students do this is when they're having their meetings, they are at the end of the meeting, they'll say, okay, let's take some time and let's discuss the next time that we're going to come together and have our discussion. And have our next discussion. Okay, and then and right then and there they go into their calendars and they find a date and a time and they just solidify that. Okay, you could also just decide on a day and a time that's like sacrosanct, and you do that every week. So Wednesday at 7 p.m. we're going to meet from 7 to 7:45. Okay, and so I'm not sure if I've mentioned the time. The time limit, it should be 45 minutes. If I've said an hour, it's 45 minutes. So you would say, every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we'll meet from 7 to 7:45, and we will have our discussion. Now, mind you, 45 minutes is a minimum amount. Okay, so you can talk longer than that, but I would ask you not to talk longer than an hour and 15. Okay, because I have to watch the videos and provide feedback. But you can definitely go beyond the 45-minute time frame. Okay. Let's see here. There is a description of every assignment in the syllabus. I think with the exception of the clinical interview, that's something that I think I'm providing more detail of. There's a description there, but that's something that you'll find more information about in Blackboard. The other thing too is that all videos are due by Saturday. Okay, Saturday 11:59 p.m. Okay, so not Sunday at midnight. not Sunday at 12:01, okay, but Saturday by 11:59 p.m. The week begins on Sunday in terms of the teach week, and ends on in terms of your weeks, begins on Sunday and ends on Saturday. Okay. I typically have the assignments posted. I typically have the assignments due on Saturday, so that's just a standing due date, Saturday at 11:59 p.m. The week that you see it in the calendar. Okay. Um, and normally I try to have videos posted by Sunday or Monday. Okay, so today is Monday. I'm going to have this posted for you all, so that way you can you can view it as soon as possible, and then that will help to inform the rest of the week for you. Okay. um, Definitely look at the syllabus in terms of some of the finer points and details about assignments, but again, I will place everything in Blackboard from week to week. And so there will be a week, there will be a folder for each week in the content folder for this class. And so so you'll notice that I'll make the folder live on Sundays, since that's the beginning of the week, of the learning week. Okay. Let's see. As I said before, the requirements for the course are rigorous and they are demanding, and the standards are high, but that's something, as educators, we have a high standard of excellence. Okay, especially in the Teach Houston program. And so that's, again, this is something that you're going to take a look at the syllabus. You may think, oh wow, this is a lot of work, a lot of readings, a lot of video watching. But again, we want to make sure that you have adequate access to information and material that's going to support your learning. Okay, sometimes you'll see a PowerPoint presentation, sometimes there's a video, sometimes there's readings. And so this is all designed to ensure that, as we have diverse learners, we also have learners that acquire knowledge differently. And again, as this is a knowing learning class, we want to make sure that there are different modalities for you to be able to access information. Okay. So, so for this week, the week of 8/19, okay, what I'm asking you to do for week 1 is to review the syllabus in its entirety, okay, from, as my dad would say, from cover to cover, so from the first page to the last. Make sure that you watched the video, Help for Kids, The Education System Ignores. It's a great video. And so it's a great video, I believe, by Victor Rios. Very passionate educator, so I want you to watch that, and that's to kind of set the tone for what we expect of you all, and what we expect for anyone that is in the Teach Houston program. Okay. Also, you have your 8 adjectives, which is due Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Okay, and then you have your Getting to Know You survey, which is also due Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Okay. So that's week 1 in a nutshell. I do want to go on and look at week 2 very quickly. So for week 2, the theme for next week is democratizing education. Okay, and you're going to read this great chapter of actually an introduction and chapter in the GenLink text, and it's all about Dewey, about John Dewey, and his philosophy about education and democracy in the U.S. And so we're going to read about that, and there's a video as well for you to watch. And you're going to begin your journal. I want you to begin your journal, at least begin it by next week. Okay, you can begin it this week, which I highly suggest, but you can start next week. What's really important, whether it's in this class or in any of the other classes, is for you to front load as much as possible. Front loading is your friend. Okay, so the more you do up front, the easier life will be, especially given that we have all kinds of other obligations. We have family obligations. We have work related obligations. And sometimes we get sick and we can't avoid that. So just do your due diligence and prepare for anything that may come up, and you can do that by front loading. Okay. So that is it in terms of reviewing the course syllabus. Again, I want you to look at this from cover to cover. In terms of my office hours, I see students via appointment, okay? So if you schedule an appointment with me, listen, I can easily do a virtual appointment. I could do, and I do them on the weekends as well. So if you need to talk to me Saturday morning, we can do that. You may see me with coffee, and I may be in my kitchen doing a little work, but hey, I'm more than happy to meet with you all. I use Skype for Business, and I also use Google Hangouts. I also use Zoom as well. So there are multiple ways in which we can connect. And so, but I've placed in the syllabus my Google Hangouts information, but I'm open to any one of those three. Okay. And let's see here. Okay, so attendance and participation. Being that this is an online class, you don't have to there's no place for you to physically be outside of those weekly virtual discussions and then those synchronous meetings. Okay, so so that's where you need to be available, and if there's an issue with any of that, then you need to make me aware of that. Okay, I will tell you I've done this multiple times with students in terms of the virtual meetings and the synchronous meetings, and I've had students with some pretty challenging situations make every meeting. Okay, so that's my expectation. Okay, but if you do feel that there may be something that's preventing you from doing so, reach out to me as soon as possible. Okay. As this is an online class, you'll have to be able to have to access the internet. You can use the Site Lab, which is in the Farish building, which is where all of your classes will be held. And so there's a great computer lab that you can use here. Okay, and that's it. That's it, my ACP for STEM scholars. Okay, that's it. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Okay, I will see you all tomorrow. You're going to have your class with Miss Mateer. It should be the Introduction to STEM Instruction course. And so I'll pop in at some point in time. I know that Dr. Evans will pop in at some point in time. So you'll see everyone from the leadership committee, pop in and say hi to y'all. Okay. All right. That was a lot of talking about the syllabus. So I'm ready to talk about some other stuff, about the readings that we have that are going to be upcoming. So again, y'all have a great week. You may have to get some coffee like I did to get this video on syllabus for knowing and learning. CUIN 3350. All right. See you tomorrow. Have a good week. Bye.